There's a quiet pain carried by children who grow up unseen. They often become adults who question whether they deserve attention at all. They enter rooms already bracing themselves to disappear. In relationships, they worry they are too much. In moments of success, they don't celebrate. They wait to be overlooked, as if being unnoticed is simply who they are. This has nothing to do with a lack of ability or value. It comes from something deeper. When a child's emotional world is built in silence, their sense of self grows fragile. Psychologists describe this as an internalized neglect schema, the pattern formed when the mind learns again and again that reaching out leads nowhere. Needs begin to feel like inconvenience. Wanting comfort, love, or understanding starts to feel wrong. Eventually, the child stops asking. You may have seen it before, a child in a busy room gently tugging at a parent's sleeve, waiting for a glance that never comes. Not loud, not demanding, just patient, and then slowly quieter still. Nothing looks dramatic from the outside, but inside that child, something is shifting. For a child, being ignored isn't a small thing. It feels like a crack forming in a very structure of who they are. And the most painful truth is this: neglect doesn't always look like cruelty. Sometimes it looks like absence, missed eye contact, unanswered questions, forgotten birthdays, a parent who is exhausted, distracted, or emotionally unavailable. Intent doesn't cancel impact, silence still wounds. We often praise children for being resilient, and they are, but survival is not healing. A child who grows up without acknowledgement adapts by shrinking. They learn to hide their needs, often their presence, and convince themselves they matter less than others. This adaptation keeps them safe in childhood, but it follows them in adulthood like a shadow. Psychology is clear on this. Acknowledgement is not optional, it is foundational. Children need safety, stimulation, and connection. A connection, being seen, heard, and emotionally responded to, is what shapes identity most deeply. John Bowlby explained that consistent emotional responsiveness creates trust. When that responsiveness is missing, the child doesn't just feel disappointed, they internalize a belief that quietly settles into the bones. Maybe I don't deserve love. Neuroscience supports this. When a child repeatedly reaches for connection and finds nothing, brain interprets it as a danger. Stress hormones rise. The nervous system adapts. Over time, it learns to expect rejection as a norm. Anxiety becomes the baseline. From the outside, the child may simply seem calm or quiet, but inside, their body is always preparing for disappointment. Emotional neglect leaves no bruises, no visible scars, but its damage often emerges later. When that child grows up and tries to trust, love, dream, or feel whole, many adults who were ignored as children struggle with self-worth. They hesitate to speak, assuming their voice doesn't matter. Some avoid closeness entirely, protecting themselves from rejection. Others chase approval relentlessly, still hoping to earn the attention they never receive. Picture an 8-year-old running home with a drawing they're proud of. They hold it up, the parent is busy. They try again later, still nothing. Eventually, the drawing is folded away and forgotten. Now imagine that moment repeating quietly for years. The children learns that joy should be hidden, pride should be muted, excitement is safest when kept in private. Years later, that same person may dismiss their achievement without realizing why. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Child Psychology and Psychiatry found that emotional neglect in childhood is strongly linked to chronic illness in adulthood. even when people are surrounded by others. Research from Harvard Center on the Developing Child shows that consistent emotional acknowledgement strengthens neural pathways tied to resilience, while neglect weakens them. Acknowledgement is not luxury, it's a psychological necessity. Ignored children often develop traits that appear admirable: independence, achievement, agreeableness, emotional attachment. But beneath these adaptations lies exhaustion. The independent child grows into an adult who struggles to trust. The achiever becomes a perfectionist who is never satisfied. The peacekeeper becomes a people player who cannot say no. And the deepest wound of all becomes apathy. The belief that nothing truly matters. Ignored children rarely speak about their experience because there is no single event to point to, no obvious story, just an absence. Many adults minimize their pain, saying nothing bad really happened. But growing up without emotional oxygen is a trauma in itself. Survival does not mean you were nourished. Studied from National Institute of Mental Health linked childhood emotional neglect to increased risk of anxiety, depression, and difficulty forming from close relationships. Living is not the same as thriving. Healing doesn't start with confidence or perfection. It starts with acknowledgement, with the quiet truth what happened to me mattered. Healing often looks small. Celebrate your own victories, speak your feelings aloud, asking for support, setting boundaries. Each moment of being seen reshapes the brain. Each act of self respect teaches the nervous system safety. The brain can change. Old patterns often, new pathways form. Here is the paradox: children who were ignored often grew into deeply empathetic adults. They notice subtle shifts in the emotions. They read rooms well. Their awareness is sharp because their survival depended on it. But empathy without self-atonement becomes self-erasure. Healing means learning to turn that awareness inward. Parents who neglect are not always cruel. Many were neglected themselves. Emotional absence often passes silently through generations until someone becomes aware enough to stop it. When an ignored child heals, they don't just heal themselves, they become the adult who listens, the partner who stays present, parent who notices. They end a cycle that may have lasted decades. If you're that child waiting to be noticed, wondering if your presence mattered, hear this clearly. It mattered then, it matters now, you matter now. Being ignored shaped you, but it doesn't define you. This is a story of pain, yes, but also of resilience, awareness, and quiet strength. The child who was ignored often becomes the adult who refuses to ignore others. They were never invisible, they were waiting to be seen.